Savages ran howling away to their hills, and the voyagers returned leisurely to the ships. Veloso, when once safely on board, told a brave story about his adventures with the Negroes, and said that they had intended to use him as a decoy to lure others on shore, and then destroy them. He related, too, how the Negroes ate the roots of herbs, gulies, whales, seals, and gazelles, and how they had dogs very much like those at home in Portugal. It then turned out that the hostility of the natives was due to a blunder of Veloso himself. When he arrived at the Negro village, they thought to do him honor by cooking a large sea calf, which they set before him, in one of their rude huts. He was so disgusted with the smell and look of it, that he rose abruptly, and strode off towards the bay. The natives, in perfect good humor, went with him, but he became frightened on the way, and, as soon as he came in sight of the ships, he shouted so frantically, that he alarmed the Negroes, who plunged into the thicket. They misunderstood his cries, and thought that he was calling upon his companions to come and attack them, hence their assault upon him as he was getting into the boat. Vasco da Gama now despaired of learning anything about the Cape of Good Hope from these savages, and only tarried at St. Helena Bay 3 or 4 days longer, until his ships could be amply supplied with wood and water. About the 1st of September the sails were once more spread, the anchors weighed, and the prows turned seaward. A southwest wind carried them briskly along, and, Vasco having told his men in a confident tone that he was certain the Cape was not far off, the little fleet set forth cheerily on its way around the continent. Lt. Huff Vasco da Gama had learned nothing from the black natives of St. Helena. He felt very sure that it would not be long before they saw the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape was, indeed, not far off, but the gallant little fleet had to pass many anxious days, and encounter many dreadful hardships, before they could double it. Scarcely had they emerged from the tranquil harbor of St. Helena when the ships were struck by contrary winds and tempestuous weather. The waves soon rose to a prodigious height, and tossed the poor little vessels about as if they were frail playthings made for the savage amusement of the sea. Now they seemed to be hurled up among the clouds. Then the sailors trembled lest the furious waters which they saw raging far above them on every side should engulf them forever in the deep. The wind was not only furious, but chilling cold. The pilots could not shout loud enough to make their orders heard by the sailors, so deafening was the uproar of the storm. After brief periods of daylight, a long and dreadful darkness would hang over them, and prevent their seeing in what direction they were going. The masts and shrouds were stayed, and the ships, no longer to be controlled, drifted whithersoever winds and waves compelled them. It was now that the heroic resolution, courage, and constancy of Vasco da Gama were put to the proof. When the storm lulled for a time, his sailors, wearied and despairing, crowded around him, and passionately besought him to give up his purpose, and to turn the prows of the ships again towards home. They begged him to consider that these were the perpetual storms which had always forbidden ships to pass the Cape, and they cried out, that, unless he turned back, they should all find watery graves. They declared that the land, which came in sight as often as they tacked to double the Cape, had no end, but extended to the Antarctic Sea, and again they pleaded, as if for their lives, with their obdurate captain. But Vasco da Gama was not to be moved. At first he chid his men gently, and said to them, "I assure you, good fellows, the Cape is very near. Do not despair. If we keep tacking, we shall surely double it." He set them a good example by freely and cheerfully sharing their dangers and hardships. Promptly, at the sound of the boatswain's whistle, Vasco da Gama appeared on deck with the others. He seemed never to take any repose, but was here and there and everywhere, often remaining day and night at the helm, ordering the men, and seeing to it that nothing was left undone. He ate the same coarse fare that was allotted to the humblest sailors, and, when the pilot was exhausted, Vasco himself took his place. Finally, however, he lost patience, and grew very angry at the importunities of the men. Gathering them all on deck, he sternly told them that he would stand out to sea until the Cape was doubled, or until the ships went down.